What's going on, guys? Just making a tier list for the record of Ragnarok fights. Gonna be starting from bottom to top. I know that I like all of these fights for the most part. I don't really think any of them are bad. This is more of a scale of I enjoyed it to I loved it, rather than I did not like this to I loved it. Oh, my fault, Will. Let's get into the first choice. Boom. This is going to be the only fight that's in the mid tier. Obviously, it's the introductory fight to the series, so I'm not expecting a masterpiece or anything. I love this. I love the final clash. All final clashes are always good. What else? I mean, both of the characters aren't really nuanced. They aren't nuanced, but I think their simplicity is what makes them good characters regardless. Both just battle-hungry beasts. And honestly, there couldn't be a better fight and set of characters to introduce us to the record of Ragnarok. If they had been placed in any round besides the first, it wouldn't be good. This is just an intro, it's the beginning. It's meant to introduce us to the series, all of its concepts, and I think it does a phenomenal job at that. Again, this fight would be horrible if it was in any other round. So, me personally, I think it has a purpose and it serves that purpose fairly well. Next, we're going to go into Buddha versus Ha-Jun or Zero or whatever. Right? This is pretty good. I like the fight for the most part. Just not most of it because it's one-sided. It's not really... It wasn't really engaging. I remember reading this monthly and people were like, can this guy just end the fight already, because Zero was getting totally bullied. And then Ha-Jun came out and we were interested. But the fight had already lost a lot of its steam. Buddha, it's a one-man show here. Ha-Jun isn't that interesting either, to be honest. But again, Buddha's just a really fun, great character. This actually is why I don't think like God versus God or human versus God matchups would be fun in this series, though. Personally, because of this. It shows us. Alright, next. Boom. Oh, wait. Actually, King versus Hades. Two kings. That's the most I can say about it. King. So, about King, all of his quotes are hard. Like, King has some good ass quotes. I mean, almost everything he says is like, it's captivating. The fight was a little slow, and to be honest, a lot of these chapters were basically the same thing. Hades didn't pull out interesting kinds of attacks, and King, his eye power with the star, it's kind of like pointless. I'm like, what is it there for? It doesn't change. The fight would have went the same. Actually, the fight would be exactly the same in my opinion if King didn't have the eye. I just didn't see the purpose. There were a lot of things in this fight I would say were quite pointless. I love the backstories though. The backstories were good. King got like 2 or 3 backstories. I mean, I have my complaints, but all in all, I like the fight and I love the final clash. I like how King parried the spear, and King was a very interesting character, and I do like how he establishes his dominance, and he doesn't let us down, despite it being round 7. Another thing about this fight is that Kengan Omega had a tournament going on at the same time as this. No, the tournament was completed. And from rounds 1 to 6, Kengan and Record of Ragnarok had the same results. But going basically Kengan versus Purgatory was humans versus gods. Humans, or Kengan, lost round 7, but Kin actually broke the Kengan curse and won in round 7. That's probably another reason why I found Kin's victory so surprising, because anybody that had been reading both of the series at the time was expecting Kin to lose. but he pulled through. And again, that like reestablished his dominance as the king. I love the concept of him. He's a very interesting character. Hades is kind of, he's like flat, but cool. He's like a cool character, and he came out of nowhere too. I don't like that Hades came out of nowhere. He should have been around the entire time, but whatever. Next fight. Ooh, this is hard. Sasaki versus Poseidon. Now, both of these characters are great. The man who looks down on everyone versus the man who looks up towards everyone. The winner versus the loser. The underdog versus the king. Now, this fight is great because it teaches you that losing, in a way, losing is more important than winning, because losing always provides you with an opportunity to learn. And through all of Sasaki's losses, he eventually came to defeat one of the strongest gods. He actually overcame one of them because he was able to optimize his aptitude and his growth through losing so much. It's poetic. It's great. Phenomenal fight, all in all. I love fast speed fights too. You know, like even in anime. I think the last episode of this fight, it starts off with gorgeous animation, like beautiful animation right there. I don't know if anybody else has ever peeped it, but it shows beautiful animation of Poseidon like striking Sasaki right off the bat. I've always loved that little 10 seconds of animation right there. I've rewatched the episode a couple of times because of that. Basically, the winner versus the loser. Although Poseidon is not as flat as people think he is. I don't want to get in. I can probably save this explanation of Poseidon's character for another video, but I'm pretty sure Amias D had already done a great analysis on Poseidon. Poseidon's a pretty cool character. I like him. I like his concept. I like the whole perfection shtick he's got on. It's great. All in all, top tier fight. And again, it shows how important it is to grow from your losses. You know. All right, let's move on. Adam versus Zeus. Everybody knows. Is it wrong for a father to protect his children? The GOAT Adam. The most heartbreaking loss. One of the most heartbreaking losses in manga. It's up there with Ken, with Kaneki versus Arima. First round. This is a heart-shattering loss. You know, so my first experience with this fight was I saw Amias D made an edit on it. And I'll never forget how my face, like my smile, the tragedy I felt when. So my stupid ass, I was watching this fight and I decided to go on the wiki for the manga because I had interest in the manga. So I went on Zeus's page, and mind you, I went and looked at this like right before Adam countered his time-stopping punch. And I went on Zeus's page and saw that he won against Adam. Mind you, on my screen, I'm looking at Adam look down on Zeus saying like, you should have gave up, old man, or something like that. And I was like, and I checked the duration of the video, I'm like, there's another 25 minutes. Bro, the way I spoiled the fight for myself by being stupid. But the heartbreak I felt when I found out that Zeus defeated Adam through the wiki while looking at Adam like on the screen, like just looking down on Zeus. Man, nothing. I was like, did Adam really? I was in denial. I was in denial throughout the whole fight. I knew Zeus was gonna win, but even in the last like struggle when they were just fighting, quote unquote, or dancing, quote unquote. I love that they called their fight a dance. Beautiful, right there. While they were dancing, and I'm like, nah, Adam's gonna win somehow. They messed up the edit. Again, I don't need to explain why this fight's top tier. It's amazing, beautiful writing. The fight choreography is for just fists, for just hand-to-hand fighting, for just fist only. Amazing fight choreography. the audience makes the fight 1,000 times better. There's this fight is really, really strong, and it's what catapulted the record of Ragnarok into like fame. Basically, it is quite single-handedly. No, I would say it's that and a minus D. The combination of those two made Record of Ragnarok one of the most popular manga to this day. It will always remain a top tier fight. Two. Now, I need you guys to understand that these are my opinions, because people are going to look at Shiva versus Raiden here this long and be like, no way. Two. Second favorite is this. So obviously, it's just a very emotional fight. I like how it shows a lot of nuance to Jack, Hercules. It shows the will of her. People say that Hercules not being like Hercules was kind of flat, was kind of boring. Well, that's kind of the point of his character, because Hercules is meant to display the indomitable will of, like, he's supposed to display the good and indomitable will of humanity. Although he is a god now, he was a human before. And the fact that after everything Jack did to him, Hercules still embraced him that's a perfect send off to his character. I love Hercules. I think he's I don't think he gets as much love as he should. He's really well written. If Hercules had nuance, he wouldn't. The message, like his final embrace of Jack, would not be as powerful. He's literally designed to be the indomitable will. I like how strategic they both got. I love the cat and mouse chase throughout London. It's a different take on the fight. I love that this fight also kept us guessing with Jack's abilities throughout the week. And I mean, it's like you knew Jack was gonna. You knew Jack had something up his sleeves at all times. I love that they made him into like this genius trickster. It was really fun to watch Jack fight, because there was just a lot of strategy, way more strategy than normal in this manga. Always unpredictable, just keeps you engaged throughout the entire fight. The final clash was great. The ending shot was beautiful, with Jack looking up at the moon, and Hercules' ash is just spreading across. The character development Jack got after the fight, and again, the growth that Jack showed throughout the fight. There's just a lot of fun in this fight, and many messages that are really helpful. You know, it just makes it's a fight that's very sweet and tragic, and you do wish that neither one of these guys had to die. At the end of this fight, I was like, I wish there was a rule where the enemy can just surrender. Alright, last but not least, my favorite fight in the series, Shiva versus Raiden. So, when this fight was being written, we had a lot of introductions with like Buddha and other gods, which was annoying. I think upon reread, it's much better than you think it is. First of all, Raiden and Shiva are both very interesting and good characters. And they're both power types. Obviously, Shiva has been hyped for a long time. We all wanted to see Shiva fight for the longest. Raiden has a very good introduction. Everybody likes Raiden right from the jump because of his unique taste in women. So, now I know this is going to sound crazy, but chapter 41 is probably the primary. Let me double check and make sure. Chapter 41. Let's look this up real quick. I don't know if it was 41 or 39. But if I see one image, no, not chapter 41. I think it's 39. Or is it 40? I can't really remember. It's been a long time since I read any of these fights. Yeah, it is chapter 39. So, in chapter 39, we get the entire flashback of Raiden, and we come to understand that Raiden has never been able to fight. Never been able to use sumo because he was just simply too strong for the world. We see a lot of people feel for him. We see a lot of tragedy. We see a lot of crying faces. We see many people whose lives impacted Raiden and how he's impacted their lives. We see Raiden grow in this chapter. So you get this flashback in. This is some of the best writing I've seen in manga. The chapter, I remember reading the chapter the day it came out and I was left speechless. As Raiden finally declares that he can use sumo and he's ecstatic, you feel for him. Because his whole life, due to him being unable to use sumo, he's felt unfulfilled. He was just not enjoying himself as much as he really deserved to. I mean, he has a lot of good character. You empathize with Raiden a lot. As he finally declares to use sumo, you see everybody in his life cheer him on. You see everybody in the flashback cheer on Raiden and hype him up and start dancing, and the whole arena just gets hyped, and it's him. Like everybody in that flashback. It's kind of like, in my head, when I played out this chapter while reading it, you feel all of these things being culminated into his reveal of Yatagarasu. Every single tragedy person in his life, everybody that he loves, literally flashes through the reader's head as he's unleashing and preparing this Yatagarasu. And as he finally shoots out that Yatagarasu and Shiva goes flying and you just see Raiden pose, you feel like there's a weight off of the character's shoulders. You feel like the character has been liberated finally. And I don't know if that's how people perceived the chapter, but I felt all of the emotion in that one chapter. And that moment has stood with me forever. If it wasn't for that chapter, I don't think I'd still be reading the series today. It is just literally it is one of the best storytelling pieces I've ever read. I've never felt so connected to a character in terms of empathy until that moment. And again, I think this effect comes from the fact that you just read his backstory, so all of this stuff is still fresh in your mind. So as you see all the characters come up again right after the flashback, you get the images of them in the flashback. You're reminded right away, right after you just read that entire thing. You instantly get reminded of all of them and everything Raiden's been through right before he unleashes that Yatagarasu. And I think the author handled that very well. I don't know if they intended to do that, but placing all these characters to celebrate Raiden, to make him feel loved, and it's very good. It is very well, and it's something. It's something I can really feel and empathize with, especially if I think anybody that's like played sports can empathize with something like this. Or really anything where people are watching them and supporting them and loving them. I think you can really empathize with something like this. That's why Raiden vs. Shiva is absolutely my favorite fight in the series. That one chapter, the fight's much better on reread anyway. I know that the Buddha thing did break the pacing a little bit, but it is much better on reread. I love that singular chapter. I also think the final clash was amazing. You can really feel the tensity in that fight. And another reason why round 5 was also very good is because the score is 2-2 at the moment, so it can go either way. That's another reason why I think that fight was good. Is because the fight could go either way at that moment. Although the humans did win twice in a row, it wouldn't be crazy for them to win 3 times in a row if the score ended up being 3-2. Unlike where in Sasaki versus Poseidon, the score was 2-0. So you're like, well, humans have to win here. You know, it can't be 3-0. That's crazy. But 3-2 would be fine. So before even going into round 5, you genuinely did not know who was going to win. Well, that concludes my thoughts on this list. I like all the fights. I think they're all good. I think they're all interchangeable. It depends on how much you like the characters and how much you empathize and connect with the characters personally. Because again, the only objective takes I would say are like in terms of story writing, Adam and Zeus is one of the best. That's the only objective take you can have. But in my opinion, all these fights are interchangeable because people will empathize and connect with the characters in different ways. Don't think there's a singular way to list your fights. I think they're all really good. But besides that, thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Have a great day.